Okay, this is part 2 of figure drawing. This method I'm going to teach you today. Yesterday was stick figure. Today is going to be sausage figure, okay? And I'll explain that in a minute. It'll make sense, I promise. Makes people laugh, but no one ever forgets it. So, all right, so let's draw along with me. If you haven't yet, get a piece of paper and a pencil to draw along with me. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, so last time we did I'm going to draw kind of the same size as this skeleton. We talked about head and torso, and then we talked about having a width for the shoulders and the hips, okay? And then having our legs be as long as the upper half of the body, okay? And then our arms, okay? I'm gonna hold off on the joints for a sec because this guy is gonna help us out for knowing exactly where things are. Okay, we're gonna start adding some like muscles and bulk to our figures. We're not just gonna draw stick figure skeletons forever, okay? The first thing I wanna point out is the rib cage. So one thing you can add while you're sketching is some kind of indication of that rib cage. If you notice, it is kind of a circular shape. I've seen artists kind of add this part of the rib cage to suggest this shape right there, but I think just a circle is fine, okay? And then the hip bones. Okay, so I need to be specific about this because it's caused some problems later. Okay, so this line right here, when I'm looking at a figure, trying to find a good example. Yeah. They're all wearing black pants. I can't find someone that's going to point out what I want. Anyway, okay, when I'm looking at a person, I'm looking for the part where their leg like starts to bend. That gives me an indication where the hips are. But you can see the pelvic bone itself is quite a bit higher than that. And the gap between the rib cage and the pelvic bone is not too much, but there is a gap. So somewhere on that line, more above it, you want to draw an indication of some type of pelvic bone, okay? And then, yes, this gap between the rib cage and the pelvic bone is important. This gap is how people can twist and bend and have a waist, okay? If you were to draw someone with a skinny waist, that's where it would go in, is between that rib cage and pelvic bone, okay? All right, and then from there, I've seen, if it's helpful, especially if you're drawing an athlete and they've got like really big shoulders, you can also draw a shoulder bone, okay? And then let's look at where the joints are exactly. So the elbows, they kind of are at the bottom of the rib cage. So if that's helpful for you to remember. And then knees are just gonna be somewhere about halfway, okay? And then feet, we'll talk about feet, but you can kind of see they're like a little triangular shape, although that looks really weird. Okay, and now we're gonna add some bulk to our stick figure by doing sausage links. This is what I call them. So you just draw a little sausage link, and then those two sausage links join together at the joints. And that's why I call it sausage method, okay? Now, right here, I've got my legs this is kind of the outside of the legs. When you're drawing sausage thighs, you want to make sure that they meet in the middle, okay? Sometimes I've taught this and I haven't been very clear about that, and then we've got people with these big gap between that, so. And then we'll do our sausage shape for our calf to ankle, and then we got our feet, okay? And then hands. I will spend another day more in detail on hands. So again, with feet and hands, we're still just doing an oval. All right, and then if it bugs you to have just lines, you can give it a neck and a waist if you want. Okay, so all of a sudden we've turned a stick figure into something that looks more like a human figure, okay? Maybe more of a mannequin. All right, now let's practice it with one of our athletic models. Got a soccer player here. So you're gonna need a new piece of paper. Okay, now just because we're adding new stuff onto this, we don't want to forget the stuff we've been thinking about before. Like right here, I can tell you right now, angle of the shoulders and angle of the hips is very important for getting this pose correct, right? So we still want to start with that capital I. And if it helps, you can draw your stick figure first. If you really like stick figure and it helps you get those angles, that's probably a good move, especially if you're a beginner. Okay, so I'm really focusing on the correct angle for his arms and his legs. See, that one is even going slanting up a bit. Okay, now we can start bulking out. Now this looks really weird, like he's got bird wings or something, but his arms are splayed all the way out. This leg is going back into space, so we're not seeing it as much. But that's why bulking it out with these sausage shapes is gonna help make more sense. So let's draw his rib cage and his pelvic bone. And then one sausage to the elbow, one to the wrist, elbow, wrist. Okay, I like to save the hands for last, but that kind of throws people off. Make sure these ones on the end, the hands, are smaller. Okay, and then his thighs. Make sure those thighs are meeting in the middle at some point. Okay. And I'm not really seeing a lot of his ankle and foot. So you can add a soccer ball if you want. Context is always good. I see a little bit of his foot there. All right, and then this leg is very foreshortened. Look at that calf muscle. Like, it looks so bulky and short just because of that foreshortening. So maybe we'll do that, and then a longer foot. I'm gonna add that there. Okay, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, it looks like a human kicking a soccer ball. Okay, and then if you like, you can add a neck and a waist. Doesn't matter to me. Okay, let's do one more together. And we're gonna do this dancer dude. Okay, so one thing is that if they are turned to the side, like, we may not be able to see an angle of his hips, okay? His hips are kind of aligned with our vision, okay? Maybe I might see a little bit more of an angle between his shoulders, okay? So don't worry about drawing a line if they're in a position where those two hip bones are kind of just lined up, okay? All right, so let's start with our capital I. Hips are somewhere down here. Rib cage. And we want to pay attention that he is kind of turned to his side. So imagine like this kind of is his chest, okay? And we're going to see a lot more of this shoulder and arm than we see of this one. And when you see someone from the side, you can kind of see that their whole thigh and butt and hip can be kind of combined into one kind of sausage shape. Do you see that? So that's one way to simplify or make sense of that if you're seeing it from the side. Okay, and if you can simplify any type of shape of shoe, that can be helpful. Kind of like triangles. If you want, you can add his torso. All right, and a head and a hand. Sometimes with hands, if it helps to think of it as a mitten, you can. Gives it a little bit more detail than just circles. Okay. So to finish this assignment, you need to do, let's see how many figures we did together. 1, 2, 3. So we've drawn 3 together so far. So I want you to do 3 more on your own, 6 sausage figures. And on this assignment, I have included other pictures, or you can just Google, you can look up your favorite sports player, or to find these images, all I did was Google soccer player, okay? And you find something with a position that you like, or ballet dancer, or fencing, or whatever you want, okay? So to finish the assignment, you need 6 sausage figures total. We've already done 3. You need to do 3 on your own. Okay, good luck. Thanks for watching.